Hello and welcome to the LSU Baseball Tournament Update brought to you by Hancock Whitney. I'm Patrick McGee, joined here by Leah Vann. We're here to talk about the start of the College World Series on Saturday with LSU and Tennessee going head-to-head at 6 o'clock. Leah, you're there in Omaha. What's your feel? What's the vibe kind of coming off this LSU baseball team?
Yeah, it feels like everybody's really excited, and even the people of Omaha are really excited to have LSU back because they're like, oh, they always bring a special culture. They bring the party, the Jello shot competition. Obviously, the LSU is already in the lead, and there's just lots of purple and gold everywhere. But it is kind of funny because you also have TCU, who's also purple, so you have to kind of weave through which fan base is which. But yeah, definitely more Louisiana people are here today. I think today is the arrival day, especially with it being the weekend and they play tomorrow. So yeah, I feel like today I've seen a lot more LSU fans.
It sounds like Tennessee is going to go with right-hander Andrew Lindsey versus LSU. Is that surprising to you to hold Dolander?
It's actually not surprising to me because Andrew has actually done better than Chase Dolander as of late. He was actually their top reliever against LSU if you look back at that series, and he's been their top reliever, and then they've slowly extended him and moved him into the starting rotation. And so I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but yeah, Andrew Lindsey is probably throwing the best for Tennessee right now. He's probably their best option. Even though Chase Dolander has the stuff, he just hasn't had the year that everybody expected him to have. His fastball has been getting hit up a lot more than last year, and so I wasn't at all surprised. It also kind of helps them because maybe they saved Chase Dolander for the back half of that game to close it out, and use him and kind of as like a middle reliever across the tournament to give him the best option possible. But also they could be just saving him for if they advance to the winning bracket.
Yeah, Lindsey was a losing pitcher last time out versus Southern Miss in Game 1 of that series, but overall the Tennessee pitching staff looked good against the Golden Eagles. Paul Skeens seems to be as good as ever coming into this stage. I'm assuming he's going Game 1, obviously. What can we expect out of him?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I assume that we're gonna see Paul Skeens on the mound tomorrow, and I don't think they're gonna adjust his pitch count at all. I think they're gonna just throw him and try to win the game, whether that means he goes 7 innings or 6 innings, however his usual pitch count is, whether it's in the 100s or the 90s. So they threw him against Tulane, they threw him against Oregon State, not Oregon State, but they threw him against Kentucky, excuse me.
Right.
So yeah, I think we expect him. I think that it'll be interesting to see how Tennessee does against him a second time, right? Because they have seen him before. But I think Paul is very aware of teams that have seen him before. Aside from the SEC tournament, you look back at the Kentucky series, and even the Kentucky head coach was like, well, he adjusted and we did not, right? And so because he threw more breaking balls than he did fastballs against Kentucky, because he's like, oh, I know they know what my fastball looks like, they've seen a lot of it, and I struck them out with the fastball a lot last time, so let me switch to the breaking ball. So I think similar approach with Tennessee. I think you're going to see him be a little bit more crafty and sequence a little bit differently than you saw him last time when he faced Tennessee, although he shut out Tennessee last time. So not shut out, but I think they won that game. So,
right.
Yeah, I think that we can expect him to be Paul Skeens.
Right. The way this LSU team is built, where its strength in the pitching is in the starting rotation, not quite as deep in the bullpen. How do you think that kind of sets up for them in the long run in the College World Series if they want to make a deep run?
I think the whole starting rotation thing is a little bit overplayed because, I think there's a lot of schools that don't have 3 definite starters with the exception of Wake Forest. And so, I think a lot of these guys are very versatile swingmen who can operate as middle relievers who can work 3 to 4 innings, which is really you add that all up and maybe you're only using 2 to 3 pitchers a game, which is probably the best that you want in this kind of scenario. Now, if you get into the losers bracket, I think you have a little bit of a harder time because you have to play more games. So it's absolutely essential that LSU comes out of the gate and wins. But you've got a Riley Cooper who could start Orr who could work in relief. You've got a Griffin Herring who can throw 3 innings. You've got Nate Ackenhausen. We've seen Gavin Guidry now throw, 2 2/3 to 3 innings. So, I mean, a lot of these guys, they can work at least, 1.5 times through the order. And so, I think they should feel very confident about their pitching, especially as of late, how they've done. And, having Paul Skeens go for as long as he does, I mean, LSU will probably only need 2 pitchers against Tennessee, and that's going to make max, and so then that conserves the rest of them for the rest of the week. I mean, I would assume that they're going to try to, kind of conserve their bullpen as much as possible by throwing Paul Skeens first. I think that's pretty much the objective of the tournament, because even Jay Johnson said, yeah, you've got the first day and then you have a day of rest, but then the rest of it plays exactly like a regional.
Yeah. Looking at this College World Series field, I know Oral Roberts kind of is coming as the underdog, but overall, you see a bunch of talented rosters really made the Final 8 this year with Tennessee, Wake Forest. How much are you looking forward to just seeing these teams take the field and the level of play you're going to see over the next few days?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope we get an LSU Wake Forest matchup because I think all year long I've wondered how Wake Forest will perform against teams with the hitting power and the talent that LSU has in its lineup. Wake Forest, I think the only SEC team they really have played was Alabama, which was a great hitting team, but it's not LSU. So I think that would be the ultimate matchup. It might be more exciting than a potential final, since they are on the same side of the bracket, which is kind of a shame. But I also think Florida's a really good team. We've all seen, they got Hurston Waldrop in their rotation, and they've got Wyatt Langford, who is up there in the top 5 prospects for the MLB draft, and, a good friend of Dylan Cruz. So, that would also be exciting. It's going to be exciting to see how Florida does. And, Stanford is always here. And Oral Roberts, I don't know. I'm from Fort Worth, so, I'm excited for TCU to make its run and, see how they do. I think what's interesting, too, is just how connected a lot of these teams are as far as, guys who play travel ball together or guys who played junior college together. I mean, you think about Nate Ackenhausen, who LSU pitcher, he's from Oklahoma. He played high school and junior college with a lot of the team at Oral Roberts. So when I asked him yesterday, I was like, hey, are you surprised by this? He's like, no, not at all. I've played with these guys my whole life. They're all very talented. He's like, I had a chance to go there, but I didn't want to live 20 minutes from home. He's like, but a lot of those guys could have gone anywhere else.
Any tips for anybody who wants to go out there and take part in the shots contest?
I will say that they're very tasty. They're probably the most tasty Jell-O shots I've ever had. And the purple flavor, which is LSU's watermelon flavor, is actually really good and was much better than the bourbon orange, which I kind of liked. I thought, bourbon orange, being a bourbon girl, would be my flavor. But it is a Tennessee flavor, and I didn't like it as much. So I say have at it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Leah. I know y'all got a full schedule up there in Omaha, and this has been the LSU baseball tournament update brought to you by Hancock Whitney. And we'll be back here next week, win or lose, to talk about the Tigers. And we'll see you there in Omaha.